Welcome to the 35th Annual Arthur Ross Award celebration. The celebration this year is in two parts. This afternoon, the honorees will make short presentations and join in a panel discussion to give us a chance to get to know them a little bit better. Tomorrow, we will celebrate their achievements. I am Mark Ferguson, Chair of the National Board of Directors of the ICAA. It is a privilege to be introducing these extraordinary people. I want to thank everyone who made this gathering possible. Robert Davis, our jury chair, and his fellow jurors, Christine Frank, Kirk Hinkles, Scott Merrill, and Jim Strickland. Our dinner co-chairs, Bunny Williams, Suzanne Tucker, and Gil Schaefer, Peter Lydon, our president and his staff, and our hosts, the partners of RAMSA. Education's the Institute's core mission, so considering that three of our honorees are prominent educators, we asked each one to share with us a brief reflection on their education and how it has shaped their careers. Their remarks will be followed by a panel discussion and a reception. First, we'll hear from Ann Day. Ann's a photographer based in Salisbury, Connecticut. She is the artist responsible for the exquisite color photographs in Henry Hope Reed's books on the Capitol Building, the Library of Congress, and the New York Public Library. The subjects of her portfolio include people and places, which have trained her eye to see the humanistic qualities in architecture. Please welcome Ann.
Is this, okay, can everyone hear me? Thank you so much. I am not completely sure why I'll be talking about education, since I consider myself not very well educated. I was an English major in college, which, as you know, means you're not very well educated or very prepared to do anything. My education really began when Henry Hope Reed asked me if I knew how to photograph architecture, and I was a photography student in New York after I graduated with a degree in English, and Henry said, "Can you photograph architecture?" And I lied, and I said, of course I can." And he hired me to redo the Small's Guide to the Library of Congress because they lost all the original negatives. And what that involved was exactly duplicating every photograph in this book that was published in 1910. And in those days, I didn't know anything about cameras that shifted and tilted and made lines straight, so I used a cherry picker so I could photograph it directly. And that entire book was shot with the help of the staff at the Library of Congress, putting me up and down on ladders and cherry pickers and so on. But anyway, the pictures do look exactly like they were done in 1910, and it worked out well, and then Henry and I became great friends. And I ended up doing about 5 or 6 books with Henry, the last of which is the book on the New York Public Library. What I'd like to talk about, one is Henry was, I want to thank Henry for, and also for Arthur Ross, who funded all of these books that we did, and Jim Mars, who was the editor at W.W. Norton, who's also a recipient of the Arthur Ross Award. But in any case, Henry was unfailingly polite. I've never met anyone who was so polite in my life, except for once. And that was when I sort of suggested that I kind of liked the Seagram's building. And he literally didn't speak to me for about 4 blocks. We were walking on Park Avenue, and he just went silent. He had nothing he could say. But in any case, this book, what we're looking at now, came out in 2012, I think. And what I really want to talk about in terms of education is that I did all of my books shooting film, 4x5 cameras. I had assistants, I had lights, I did everything the old-fashioned way until I did this book. And can I use this laser pointer? This was the final shot for the book, and everything was done, and it had to be out by May for the centennial. This was February, and they promised me they would close down Fifth Avenue so that we could get the photograph on a Sunday morning, which is when there are no buses, and I wanted it when the sun was rising and it hits right those little windows in there. The sun's coming down 41st Street. I wanted to have some of that early morning light, and they forgot to close down Fifth Avenue. So I arrived, and this entire front step was covered with dirty snow. There were some old chairs up here. There was a homeless guy sleeping on a bench, and I had to go back to Bryant Park to get the policeman, to get the homeless guy to move, but he needed his morning cigarette, and he had to yawn a little, and by then the buses were going by. So, no picture. Go back the next Sunday, same time at 4 a.m., my assistant and I are set up on a tripod in the middle of 41st Street. The sun isn't up yet, so we don't see the condition of the building. Anyway, it's all covered with dirty snow and broken chairs and all kinds of stuff. So the third Sunday that I went back, the same thing happened. And what I ended up doing was digitally cleaning up the front of the steps. This was 8 or 9 hours of pixel by pixel removal of snow. When people ask me, am I sorry that I'm not shooting with film anymore, I think you know the answer. No, I'm not sorry. I love digital manipulation. I love to be able to clean up an image that I never could have gotten before. And to me, it's not journalism. It's somewhere between art and truth. But this is the true building. It just doesn't have all the junk on the front of it. Anyway, that's all I have to say.